And then later on, after I told him all the details of what was going on with the relationship, he said all he had to say about it was he saw an episode of Law and Order Special Victims Unit that had exactly the same plot. Oh, hi, how are you? Welcome to the Jib. This bi-weekly podcast is about the many and varied schemes of the many and varied US law enforcement and intelligence agencies, organizations and committees, and how they are stupid and also funny. Join us on our merry journey through space and time. Hi, my name is Barry. You might have seen me win highly commended in the Mullingar Literary Festival short story competition this week. True story. True story.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Seamus.
Hi, everybody. I'm Seamus, and I got a new hat.
Okay. I see it now, yeah. I get it now. Yeah.
Okay.
What's the shirt?
Oh, it's just my Star Trek shirt.
Okay, cool.
So
that's cool. I'm just going to full screen that briefly, if you don't mind. Yeah, it delivers. Yeah, love it. Cool.
Nice.
But we're not here to discuss Irish revolutionaries.
No, not at all. Unfortunately,
we're here to discuss the Suez Canal by special request of the chat 2 weeks ago, I guess. We
So instead, we're talking about MK Ultra, right?
Well, to give the people what they want at some point.
Right.
So we're talking about the Suez Canal. Normally, during these podcasts, what I would do is I would go back into the history of Egypt, and so Suez Canal is in Egypt. I would go back into the history of Egypt, but I'm not going to do that because, first of all, it's irrelevant to the Suez Canal, and secondly, I'm intending to do an Egypt episode when it would be far more interesting to history. I'm just going to talk about the canal, when the canal started, and the hilarious ongoings that involve Israel and England and France and the CIA and blah, 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 right? So here we go. Let's see. I'm going to check. I'm just going to quick check my photo game and see if my photo game is still on. No, it's not. It's fucked. That's okay. Put up number one anyway. Image number one, I think, will be slipping back and forwards between image number one for the entire episode. Right now, what you will notice there is there's a purple line and a red line. The purple line is how you get from the money, meaning stuff that's in India, say, and I guess the oil is also going to come around that way. And the red line, which is the Suez Canal route, and you can see it cuts off about 5,000 miles. It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Pretty hot. Yeah. In 1856, the French secured a 100-year license to build a canal in Suez, right? And that is going to be important. In 1856, the French secured a 100-year license to build a canal in Suez. In 1858, they set up the Suez Canal Company specifically to build it. In 1863, Ismail Pasha became the ruler of Egypt. He was quite modern-facing, but he did not have the budget to match his ambition, as happens. He said, and here's a quote, "My country is no longer only in Africa. We are now a part of Europe too. It is therefore natural for us to abandon our former ways and adopt a new system adapted to our social conditions." And this is kind of something that happened all across the Middle East around this time, at the end of the 1860s and start of the end of the 1800s and the start of the 1900s. Is a lot of Middle Eastern countries decided they wanted to be more Western-facing. They wanted to be Europe, right?
Okay.
In 1867, Egypt was granted a degree of autonomy from the Ottoman Empire while still remaining in the empire, where it had existed in a murky political situation since at least 1805. In 1875, after racking up debts of 100 million sterling, which is about 15 billion pounds today, for ambitious spending projects and a war with Ethiopia, Pasha sold off all of Egypt's shares in the Suez Company to England. So now the Suez Canal Company is owned by England and France, right?
Right.
It's all coming together, don't worry. In 1869, a French sculptor called Auguste Bartholdi approached Pasha with an idea he had to design an impressive statue in Port Said, which is at one end of the canal. That is the artist's impression of what was going to happen in Port Said. As you can see, there's a robed woman holding a torch which represents an Egyptian peasant woman lighting the way. The plan was to have Egypt, the beacon of Asia, inscribed on the bottom. Pasha axed the project almost immediately due to the price. So what does that remind you of, if anything?
Looks like the Statue of Liberty.
Yes. Undeterred, Bartholdi repurposed the basic design when he created the Statue of Liberty.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
That's the original design template for the Statue of Liberty.
Nice.
That was going to go on Port Said. Yep. Okay.
Actually looks cooler.
It does, because it's more connected to the culture of the place where they were going to, I don't know.
Yeah, fair.
the Statue of Liberty doesn't have much to do with America, really, does it? But that's an
No,
Egyptian peasant lady, and
no.
it's supposed to be like a light to the nations, so it's where you'd expect a lighthouse to be. It all makes sense. Anyway, put back up image one there, because it's never going to go away, that beautiful little map of what the Suez Canal does for us all. Like especially petroleum now these days, but back then it was more like spices and tea and cotton and things like that. But now it's all about the petrol. And the idea of wasting 5,000 miles worth of petrol just to get petrol across, anyway, it's great. The canal was finished in November 1869. It cuts about 5,000 miles from the trade route between Europe and Asia. Port Said was also built specifically to service the canal. It would become known as an international city. And by the way, these international cities are just great. We need more of them. And this is a quote. If you truly wish to find someone you have known and who travels, there are 2 points on the globe you have to but sit and wait, and sooner or later your man will come there. The docks of London and Port Said. And this was said by Rudyard Kipling. Now, as you can see from the map, the canal is pretty impressive. It was ostensibly, and unlike, by the way, the Panama Canal, the construction of it was pretty easy. If you remember the Panama Canal, the construction of it was a total fucking nightmare, also undertaken by the French. Because it was all in flat land and desert and so on, it was fine. It was ostensibly the property of the Egyptian government, but as the only company with the license to operate it was owned by the French and British, it was effectively owned by the French and British. By the 1870s, it became clear to most Egyptians that the trappings of independence could not change the fact that their country was run by foreigners. The British and the French controlled the canal, and the government was controlled by the Ottoman Empire, especially, and inside Egypt, by the way, especially Turks, Albanians, and Circassians. I don't know. A group of people who had been exiled from their Russian homeland for various reasons and ended up in the elite class of lots of countries. Now, these Circassians are incredibly interesting people, but I have nothing to say about them in this episode other than the fact that they found themselves in the ruling class of Egypt, and Egyptians did not like that. No more than anybody would who wasn't Circassian, I guess. A rebellion led by Colonel Urabi was slowly taking over Egypt. By 1879, Urabi's revolt was powerful enough to demand that Pasha get rid of all the foreigners from his government. Pasha knew there was not a lot he could do about this rebellion. The British were concerned that Urabi might try to take the Suez Canal, and so in 1882, the Anglo-Egyptian War, they call it the Anglo-Egyptian War on Wikipedia, but really it's just a full-scale English invasion of Egypt.
Right.
Put an end to the rebellion and made Egypt a British protectorate. However, due to the political murkiness discussed above, it also sort of stayed inside the Ottoman Empire. Now, that's kind of difficult to get our heads around, but that's just the way it had to be. And again, of course, what Egypt wants doesn't matter, right? All we care about is the canal. Fuck you and your people. All we care about is the canal. If the canal stays open and serves our interests, or fuck you, right? In 1914, Egypt predictably declared themselves on the Ottoman side during World War I. This did not spark joy with England, who replaced the Egyptian leader Abbas II with his brother Hussein Kamel, and Egypt officially declared themselves independent, which functionally meant they're now definitely under British control.
Right.
Right? Independent from the Ottomans, but not independent full stop. Unimpressed with English control over Egypt, nationalists in Egypt, and this is kind of Indiana Jones time. So if you remember when Indiana Jones went to Egypt, this is why the place is full of English people, right? Even in
that makes sense. Yeah.
Unimpressed with English control over Egypt, nationalists in Egypt, looking for actual independence, staged the 1919 Egyptian Revolution. The British forces managed to take back the country, but as a result, they issued the unilateral Declaration of Egyptian Independence in 1922. And one line from this unilateral Declaration of Egyptian Independence is, "The British protectorate over Egypt is terminated, and Egypt is declared to be an independent sovereign state." Thank you. This did not apply to the Suez Canal, perhaps predictably. This did not apply to the Suez Canal, however, as the British kept troops there. This is classic British Empire business, right? In Cyprus, if you remember our Cyprus episode, when they gave the freedom to Cyprus, they held on to Acreoti, the airbase. And in Ireland, they famously held on to 6 counties. And during the war, some ports as well. In the Anglo-Egyptian Treaty of 1936, England agreed to dissolve even its advisory status, but still insisted on keeping troops in the Suez Canal. So you can see, like, again, the only value really they hold on Egypt is this canal. And in their defense, it's very valuable. But, like, you can't ignore that it's in Egypt. I know you really wish it was in Yorkshire or something, but it's not.
It's just typical imperialism, especially in that region, right? I mean, that's just
what they do. And also this region.
Yeah.
World War II meant that Egypt was essentially being used as a base of operations for Allied command, which meant the return of English troops. Many Egyptians saw this as a reversal of the treaty, which it kind of was, right? There he is. That's King Farouk of Egypt, right? In 1942, tensions between the government and King Farouk.
He looks very British, actually.
He does. He does not look Egyptian. Yeah, that's been mentioned before.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like shoot, I can't think. Do you remember the speaking of Star Trek, the dude that had the
Harry Mudd?
Yes, thank you. He looks like fucking Harry Mudd.
And that's King Farouk. In 1942, tensions between the government and King Farouk, meaning the government of Egypt, between the government and King Farouk meant that Farouk ended up dismissing the prime minister. The English government got scared and sent a list of demands to the palace, including that Egypt must have a government that is loyal to the terms of the treaty, meaning the 1936 treaty, right? And that His Majesty should be held personally responsible for any disorders that may occur in the meantime, which is delightful stuff. When it became clear that the English were not getting the answer they wanted fast enough, they sent another message to the palace which read, "Unless I hear by 6 p.m. today that meaning basically that a friendly government is being formed, His Majesty King Farouk must accept the consequences."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The English, this is basically saying we will, the English were close to forcing Farouk to abdicate when a government to their liking was installed. This incident did nothing at all to make Egyptian nationalists feel better about the ability of the British to stick to their own treaties. Because they said in 1936 treaty was like, well, we'll leave you alone except for the canal, but now they're not leaving it alone at all.
Right.
Now, after the 1948 defeat of Egypt in the First Arab-Israeli War, when Israel was constituted as a country, every Arab country around them invaded them. And Israel managed to beat all those armies. After the defeat of Egypt, Egyptians began to lose faith in the monarchy and their ability to defend Arabs. In 1951, the Egyptian parliament approved a plan to cancel the 1936 treaty, which suddenly made the English troops in the Suez Canal a hostile act and maybe even an act of war, even though they didn't move and they weren't doing anything different. Suddenly what they were doing is an act of war.
Fair.
The English refused to leave, so Egyptian forces blockaded their positions, making it more or less impossible to get any supplies in, including food. The whole canal area became extremely unstable, very unstable. And that's the last thing you want. Like, instability is not what you want in the Suez Canal, and a very important transport. In 1952, Egyptian resentment at England turned into a series of riots in Cairo targeting British properties and Farouk personally. Later in 1952, this general dissatisfaction turned into a revolution by the Free Officers Group, led by Major General Mohammed Naguib, which included Lieutenant Colonel Gamal Abdel Nasser and Lieutenant Colonel Anwar el Sadat.
Who's who?
Nasser and then Sadat.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And those guys look like Arabs at least, right?
I've seen Nasser before. I don't remember Sadat. Yeah.
If Nasser's in a movie, you really can only have Omar Sharif playing him. There's no...
Right?
Yeah. It was around this time that the CIA authorized Operation FF.
What? FF?
Yes. Do you want to guess what Operation FF stands for?
Fuck around and find out?
Oh, so close.
Really?
Yes. It was around this time the CIA authorized Operation FF, or Operation Fat Fucker. Led by Miles Copeland, the CIA station chief in Cairo. Yeah.
Not Stuart Copeland?
Yeah, Miles Copeland. Do you remember Miles Copeland? And the CIA, at this time, he was the CIA station chief in Cairo, and Kermit Roosevelt.
Okay. Ajax, yeah.
Ajax, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
The original plan was to promote an America-friendly government under Farouk, but as it became increasingly clear that no one in Egypt liked Farouk, or at least no one with guns, the mission shifted to supporting and guiding the Free Officers. Copeland claims that the Free Officers met with Roosevelt personally to talk about their plans, and also that the CIA was instrumental in setting up Egypt's national intelligence agency, the Mukhabarat. Hugh Wilford, a historian who specializes in the CIA, said, whether or not the CIA dealt directly with the Free Officers prior to their July 1952 coup, there was extensive secret American-Egyptian contact in the months before the revolution. There's going to be a revolution. Having abandoned their mission, the entire machinery of Operation FF was moved to Iran the following year. And if you want to know what happened there, we covered in our episode Operation Ajax. Have you heard of a song called Roxanne?
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of a song called Every Breath You Take?
Yes.
Do you know who the drummer is in that?
Yeah, Stuart Copeland.
Stuart Copeland. Miles Copeland is Stuart Copeland's dad.
Oh, shit. I made a joke about that a minute ago.
Yes, I blew straight through it. I blew straight through it for the purposes of the community. Because Miles Copeland is Stuart Copeland's dad.
He was the drummer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And
I was trying to remember.
I don't know why I didn't just play a song for you and then say, could you know what this song is? That would have been more interesting, wouldn't it? With more engaging content-wise.
It's all right.
Instead of just saying things. Don't know why I didn't think of that. Anyway.
It's all good.
The original motto of the Free Officers, I remember the Free Officers is this group of army guys who were trying to get independence for Egypt, including the boys we see on screen. The original motto of the Free Officers was, "The army says no to Farouk," which is pleasantly direct. They later developed a less snappy but more enforceable and domestic audience-friendly 6-point plan to end all British control over Egypt, to end feudalism in Egypt, to end all foreign political control of Egypt via investment, meaning that if you put money into Egypt, you shouldn't get to decide policy, right?
Fair.
To promote social justice, to form a strong national army, and to move towards true democracy. Farouk saw the writing on the wall and abdicated in favour of his son Fuad II, who was 5 months old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, the country was obviously not being run by a 5-month-old baby, but by the Egyptian Revolutionary Command Council, which is basically the Free Officers. By 1953, the monarchy was formally abolished and Egypt was declared a republic, with Naguib as president and Nasser, the guy on the left here, as prime minister. And despite all the help from the CIA, the revolution was a success.
Huh.
Now we're going to talk about Operation Susanna. As we will probably be all aware, the worst possible result for Israel is democracy anywhere in the Middle East. Israel... The worst possible result for Israel is democracy anywhere in the Middle East. Ha ha ha, right, but also it's true. Israel cannot survive unless all the surrounding Arab countries are either bought and paid for, run by friendly dictators, or in so much chaos that they are unable to mount a challenge to Israel. An example of each of these three today in order are Egypt, Syria, and Lebanon. The Israelis were vaguely aware that the Americans were broadly pro-independence, whereas the English were broadly in favour of maintaining Egypt as part of the English Middle East influence sphere, right?
Right.
So there's a tension there. In 1954, someone in Israeli high command had the bright idea of bombing several American and British sites in Cairo and blaming it on either the Muslim Brotherhood or communists or both. The idea was, first, to destabilise Egypt during a time when they were hurtling towards independence, and also to create such public acts of violence that the British would feel compelled to keep their troops in the Canal Zone. Now, while again this would appear to be the kind of thing the Americans should love, they were not happy about it at all, perhaps due to the fact that the CIA was, at the time, funding the Muslim Brotherhood as part of their own operation to deal with the Nasser problem. Remember, what the Nasser problem is independence and democracy.
Yeah, right.
There's... These guys are not being unreasonable, by the way. They're not like crazy dictators or anything, you know. An Israeli double agent called Avri Ilad told the Egyptians about the plan in its later stages, and the Egyptians arrested 11 Zionists who were Israelis and Egyptian Jews. 2 of them killed themselves in prison, 2 of them were sentenced to death, 2 were acquitted, and everybody else was put in jail. Due to military censorship, which still exists in Israel, the trial was reported as if the Israelis were innocent, and the public mood in Israel was bent against Egypt. Avri Elad was sentenced to 10 years for treason in Israel, although due to the military censorship which still exists today, Israelis would not know his name until much later. And we saw the military censorship of the media in Israel come into play during our Mordecai Vanunu episode, if you remember, those things that the Israelis were not allowed to. That's why all the news came from foreign papers in England mainly, with Mordecai Vanunu. They called this Operation Susanna, the Israelis, but the rest of the world knows it as the Lavan Affair, after its Israeli Defense Minister Pinchas Lavan, although he had little to do with it. He took responsibility in theory and resigned in 1950. By little, he really had nothing at all to do with it, but he was the Minister of Defense when it happened under his watch, and he took responsibility for it, so fair play to him, I guess. He resigned in 1954. Inside Israel, again due to the military censorship, it was known as the unfortunate business, that's literally what they called it, and was officially denied by the Israeli government until 2005, when, in classic Israeli style, the surviving false flag operatives were given awards for their services to Israel by President Moshe Katsav. And Moshe Katsav was later forced to resign due to multiple charges of rape and sexual harassment. The main consequence of the Lavon affair was the catastrophic damage it did to the relationships Israel was building up with Britain and the United States, neither of whom were informed about this operation. Now we're going to talk about the Aswan Dam. Nasser was determined to maintain political neutrality, but we are slap bang in the middle of the Cold War, and this would be more or less impossible. As part of his series of ambitious public projects, he decided to build a dam on the Nile to control the famous floods and also to generate electricity. The US and the UK agreed to fund it initially in exchange for Egypt's cooperation on matters concerning Israel. In 1955, Israel was censured by the UN Security Council Resolution 106
What?
for prearranged and planned attack ordered by the Israeli authorities on Egyptian forces in Gaza.
Wait, no. That didn't really happen. That didn't happen, right?
Well, you can look it up. Council Resolution 106.
They say that again.
1955,
Yeah.
Israel was censored by UN Security Council Resolution 106 for prearranged and planned attack ordered by the Israel authorities on Egyptian forces in Gaza. Don't worry, they're never going to attack Gaza again. Don't worry. That only you know the whole thing only started after October 7th, right?
Oh yeah, right. It just started after that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
it's not like they're killing record numbers of Palestinians like the day before or 2 days before. But yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, they only attacked Gaza after October 7th. I know that because people.
Yeah.
Anyway, in 1955, the UN said the Israelis should stop attacking Gaza, keeping in mind that Gaza is in Egypt at the time.
Right.
It's not even. Yeah. Nasser realized that he would need more weapons and went straight to the Americans. The Americans said they would happily modernize the Egyptian army as long as they maintained a level of control over how those weapons were used.
We're giving somebody else guns to go against Israel?
Yeah.
Are we in some sort of alternate reality, Barry? Are you just like, this is like a Quentin Tarantino script or something? It's something. What the fuck?
There's no sign whatsoever that Nasser had any intentions of doing any damage to Israelis. He just wanted to defend Egypt. So maybe that's what they were thinking.
Against Israel, though.
Well, I mean, against anybody, I guess he wanted to attack them. But right now, it's Israel.
I don't know. This is fucked up.
But the Americans said they wanted to have control over how the weapons were used, presumably maybe for that reason.
This is what, Eisenhower? 56? Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yes, he did do something right.
The relationship with Israel and America was not as tight as it is today. It was quite patchy at the start.
Oh, yeah. I mean, fuck, they tried to kill Truman, so.
And remember, this is the year after the Lavon affair, where Israel had pretty much displayed a contempt to the Americans and the British.
And they don't do that now at all. They're just so inviting to us.
Yeah. But at least the Americans, the British will be clued into their operations. They'll be CC'd on the email, you know. No one CC'd them in.
Well, now we're just giving them free reign to take over our military, that's all. So.
Jesus Christ, did you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But hey, at least we got some good news. The day we're recording is Lindsey Graham died, so there's that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Come on, pour one out for your homie.
Yeah. Lindsey Graham's dead. Unforeseen illness.
Yeah, unforeseen.
So maybe it was his soul ganging up on him. So Nasser obviously didn't want to have an army that was under someone else's control. So this was unacceptable for obvious reasons. So he turned to the USSR. The USSR agreed, sending weapons through Czechoslovakia, which was a big player on the international arms sales market back then. They still do. Czechoslovakia still does billions of dollars of arms sale, but it's calmed down a bit.
Didn't the IRA get some guns off of Czechs back in the day?
Everybody
Am I
did.
wrong? Okay,
no,
okay.
I'm sure they did, yeah. If you have any loose AK-47s going, I'll take a few of those.
Is that right?
After the Czech arms deal was announced, Britain dropped their offer of help with the Aswan Dam. And in June 1956, the Soviets offered NASA over $1 billion for its construction. The Americans then dropped out. Now, as in many of our episodes, most notably Patrice Lumumba in the Congo and Sihanouk in Cambodia, the American understanding of the term neutral was at odds with Nasser's. I think neutral for them meant like you don't deal with anybody, but neutral for him meant you can deal with anybody.
Right.
Now we're going to talk about the Suez Crisis, the crisis, which is what caused me to be interested in this, in writing this episode. In July 1956, which you will notice is exactly 100 years after the 100-year license ran out that they got in 1856, right? In July 1956, Nasser announced he was nationalizing the Suez Canal, which he's entitled to do under the contract.
So he wants to die. That's what you're saying.
Well, I mean, you have to wonder at some point, at what point
Right.
do they say, yeah, I'm going to be dead by Tuesday? But he announced he was nationalizing the Suez Canal with the aim of using transit fees to fund the Aswan Dam. Due to continued clashes between Israeli troops and Egyptian troops and Palestinian fighters, he also closed the Straits of Tiran to all Israeli ships. Israel's only access to the Red Sea through Eilat was through the Straits of Tiran. In response, the Israelis invaded Egypt, creating the Suez Crisis. 2
There we
days
go.
later, in an insane move, England and France joined the invasion.
Oh.
Now that might
Yeah.
sound weird, right? But let me explain. You're going to like this. There's more where this came from. It turned out later that Britain had put together a secret operation months beforehand called Operation Hamilcar, the name of which was changed to Operation Musketeer when the French were on board because they couldn't spell Hamilcar. They kept saying Amilcar, and they say, no, it starts with a H. Yeah, Amilcar. No. The operation, that's true, by the way, they had to change it because of the spelling. The operation was
hilarious.
so secret, yeah, the operation was so secret, they didn't even tell the Americans. Now,
Oh.
you know what happens from our previous paragraph about Israel, you know what happens when you don't tell the Americans about your international
Oh, yeah.
adventures?
Shit
Right.
goes south.
Yeah, they didn't even tell the Americans. Anthony Eden, the Prime Minister of England, was so secretive, he refused to tell the general in charge of the operation what the
Wow.
aims were, whether he wanted to secure the canal or overthrow the Egyptian government or both. But either way, it was clear that there was a multinational effort to invade Egypt long before Nasser had even considered nationalizing the canal, right?
Yeah.
The canal nationalizing thing really gave them a accelerate the program moment, you know. Red 5, go, go, go. An official at the Foreign Office, at the UK Foreign Office, explained their position very clearly. Here's a long ass quote, so buckle in. If we sit back while Nasser consolidates his position and gradually acquires control of the oil-bearing countries, he can and is, according to our information, resolved to wreck us. If Middle Eastern oil is denied to us for a year or two, our gold reserves will disappear. If our gold reserves disappear, the sterling area disintegrates. If the sterling area disintegrates and we have no reserves, we will not be able to maintain a force in Germany or indeed anywhere else. I doubt whether we'll be able to pay for the bare minimum necessary for our defence, and a country that cannot provide for its defence is finished.
Boy, that
That's the
sounds
UK Foreign
prescient
Office.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for some reason, the Foreign Office did not feel the same way when Nasser was looking for ways to defend his country. The French were also making plans for an invasion in Egypt without telling the Americans or even the British, who were supposed to be their allies in this invasion. In August, the French asked Ben Gurion, or as I call him, the quote mine, this Ben Gurion guy, if you ever want to criticize Israel and you want information with which to criticize Israel, just Google Ben Gurion quotes. And this man, who is a Zionist and was the Prime Minister of Israel, will deliver what you need to attack Israel or criticize them or whatever you need to do. Things that he has said will do it for you. But that's not what this episode is about. I've been advised by my lawyer to say. In August, the French asked Ben Gurion, this guy, if he would invade Egypt and made no reference at all to England. He agreed. And it wasn't until October that the British were informed, and then the parallel French-Israeli operation was commenced. A high-ranking French general explained it like this, and we have another long-ass quote, so buckle in, Buttercup.
Yep.
It's going to be a bumpy night. Israel would be invited to attack the Egyptian army in Sinai and pose a threat to the Suez Canal, and this would provide Britain and France with the pretext to activate their military plans and occupy the Suez Canal zone, ostensibly in order to separate the combatants and protect the canal. Right?
Okay.
That was the French plan. So it was that cynical. They just said it straight, outright, you know?
Yeah.
The Israelis may have let all this go to their heads. Ben Gurion loved the idea of invading Egypt and suggested a comprehensive re-engineering of the Middle East to go along with it, involving the division of Jordan between Iraq and Israel and the annexation of the southern part of Lebanon. Thankfully, Israeli dreams of annexing South Lebanon died in 1956, and I'm sure we won't be hearing any more about that anymore.
Yeah.
This is like when we were talking about Gaza, remember?
Right. Yep.
Well, this Lebanon invasion only happened after October the 7th. You know that, right?
Of course, right.
They only want Lebanon because of Hezbollah aggression. Hezbollah, which was set up in 1982 or
Right.
1983, right? So it was only
Which
because of
also
Hezbollah they
was
want to invade
Hezbollah,
Lebanon.
which is Hezbollah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, Ben Gurion wanted
Yep.
to invade South Lebanon in 1956, but don't
Ah,
know talking about that apparently.
nah.
But it was made clear to Ben Gurion that neither Britain nor France could tolerate an actual act of war against Egypt. Moshe Dayan, the head of the IDF, said, "We will not declare. We will simply strike." Which is
Okay.
that's the American policy with Vietnam as well, if I remember, and also the
Yeah.
American policy with Iran earlier this year. We will not declare war. We will simply strike.
Yep.
So Moshe Dayan there, which if I'm ever allowed to do an Israel episode, we will be hearing more from. I don't see our legal advice changing anytime in the near future, though. At the end of October, and remember we're still in 1956, at the end of October, the three countries, meaning Israel, England, and France, at the end of October, the three countries had signed a written agreement about how to proceed at a meeting in Sèvres, in France. Israel invaded. The cooperation between Israel and the West, so damaged after the Levant affair, was back in business. Yay! The three boys hurtling in. UN General Assembly Resolution 997 demanded Israel pull back to their own border, but this was vetoed by Britain and France. Usually, if you censor Israel, it'll be vetoed by America. But these were the early, heady days of 1956 when the relationship between Israel and the US had not been completely normalized and mainstreamed yet. And it was
We're still in that like meet cute phase, we're just kind of feeling each other out. Yeah.
Yes. And
actually, I think the Suez Canal was it, right? I mean, that's where the boys just kind of like looked at each other and like, hey, I've been looking at you for a while, but I just never saw you that way until now.
Something like that, or not, as we will see.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there's another paragraph. This was vetoed. No, the thing is, the UN General Assembly Resolution 997, this is just, Israel just invaded on their own, right?
Yeah.
That was the thing. They had to go in first on their own. The UN had a general resolution saying, get back to your country. And Britain and France vetoed it. And that might have seemed very strange to people when they're thinking, well, why did Britain and France veto it? 2 days later, Britain and France entered the war on the Israeli side, and then we were all clear as to why Britain and France vetoed it. The whole thing was obviously a put-up job, right?
Yep.
No one was entirely sure exactly what was happening, and including at the UN and including in the CIA, they didn't really understand what was happening. But everyone understood that at the very least, the Suez Canal would be liberated from Egyptian control. And liberated is the word I like to use because it's the word the Americans will use for everything they do. Liberated.
Right.
In other words, stolen. I like right now. I want to liberate Seamus's hat from his head.
You don't like it?
No, I do like it. That's why I want to liberate it.
Oh, okay.
And they wanted to liberate the Suez Canal, not because they didn't like it, right?
Yeah.
Predictably, the USSR lodged a complaint with the UN about this whole business.
Sure.
Less predictably, the Americans also lodged a complaint with the UN. So now we're in the middle of the Cold War, and the two great superpowers seem to agree on something.
That's scary.
This is how stupid the Israeli invasion was. And again, of course, the Americans had lots of reasons to object, but the first one I've hinted at is because they were not informed of what was happening.
Right.
And they're like, excuse me, what are you doing? Nasser responded by completely closing the canal and sinking all the ships that were in it at the time.
Nice.
As 2/3 of, he's right, fuck him.
Yeah.
As 2/3 of all European oil came through the canal, this had an immediate effect.
Yeah, no doubt.
It wasn't just oil. Yeah, well, again, no modern fucking analogs there, right? But it wasn't just oil. It was also things coming from Temu. No, it was also tea prices went up along with sugar and milk. And this is a cultural disaster for English people who love their tea with milk and sugar.
Can't have that.
And milk, by the way, was something I found on a Wikipedia page. I do not understand why milk would be coming through the Straits of whatever, through the Suez Canal to England from Asia when all the milk producing companies are on the other side of the world.
Yeah, really.
I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's what it said in Wikipedia, so I'm telling you good people about it. This is a cultural disaster for England. It got to the stage in England where petrol was rationed. It's never got to that stage yet, I think, with the current Iran business, but it could do. On the face of it, this operation, again, seems like exactly the kind of thing the Americans would get on board with, right? However, for various reasons, they did not. One was that the same week, they were lodging complaints in the UN about the Russian invasion of Hungary, and they felt it might come across as hypocritical. This is back when they gave a shit about how their actions appeared to others.
Is this during the Hungary uprising with the tankies
Oh yeah,
and all that shit?
it was
Okay.
the tankies exactly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was exactly the same week as the Suez Canal thing.
Awesome.
So they felt like they couldn't really. I mean, nowadays I don't think they'd have a problem with it, but back then they felt they couldn't have two separate ideologies
Right.
at the same time. Um, there was also a feeling among the Americans, due to Nasser's positioning himself as the preeminent pan-Arab nationalist, that the invasion of Israel could create a domino effect across the Arab world of aligning themselves with the USSR, and that was a genuine, fear. Like that's something that could have happened. They also felt, unlike the French and British, that the Egyptians would be perfectly capable of operating the canal competently on their own. The Americans had no problem with the Egyptians running the canal as long as they kept it open, but the English and the French felt that the Egyptians would run it into the ground for some reason, and it's never explained why they thought the Egyptians would not be able to run it. There was no signs that they weren't able to run it. I think it's probably just racism, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
When diplomatic pressure failed, the Americans threatened to sell all their sterling bonds. The Americans owned so much British foreign debt that selling the bonds would devalue the currency significantly. The English were thus convinced to withdraw their troops, which they did, again without informing the Israelis or the French. So the English just stopped, and they didn't tell the Israelis, we're going to pull our troops out. And that, I guess, I don't know, a dick move? I don't know, what would you call that?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The Israelis and French followed soon afterwards, despite being largely successful in their military aims. Now, the invasion was a success if you measure success by whether the military aims were done. They basically went in and did whatever they had to do. But because the Americans developed this attitude, they all had to leave. And this is very interesting for all sorts of reasons. Like I say on the podcast sometimes that the Americans, whatever we're talking about, the Americans could have finished this with one phone call. And that's true of so many difficulties in all the things we talk about, especially the Israeli aggression against Iran earlier this year. If it was like that big of a deal, the Americans could have ended it in one afternoon with a phone call.
Yep.
Pretty much everything we talk about. There's very few things we talk about where that's not true. And it's not only is that true with the Suez crisis, but that's exactly what happened. The British and the French and the Israelis were successful in their military operations. They only pulled back because the Americans made a phone call. By April 1957, everything was back to normal and Egypt was in control of the canal again. A Canadian politician, Lester B. Pearson, suggested, and Lester B. Pearson quite a lot, suggested a plan to, what was it said you had a guy who was called something B something, and you said more like something B fucking. What was that?
Oh, Warren G. Harding. I always said Warren G. fucking. Yeah. Yeah. Because he did. He fucked a lot.
Oh yeah, it's just I just remember it during the podcast recorded. I was like, that's fucking fun. Anyway, this guy was not be fucking. He was be amazing. Lester B. Pearson, a Canadian politician, suggested a plan to install UN peacekeepers along the canal, which is a really good idea. I mean, there's no bad elements to that plan from everybody's point of view, including the Israelis. The Israelis should have been happy about, which they were. This plan was eventually approved by everybody. Pearson, fully correctly, by the way, won the 1957 Nobel Peace Prize for its crucial contribution to the deployment of a United Nations emergency force in the wake of the Suez crisis. And remember, that's back when Nobel Peace Prizes meant something.
Yeah. Now you just wipe your ass with it.
Yeah. I mean, Obama was bad, but also the problem I have with it is...
He has a record, though. He has a record of being the only Nobel Peace Prize winner to bomb another Nobel Peace Prize winner.
What's the other one?
Yeah. I think it was Doctors Without Borders. I think there was somebody who was... Yeah. Yep.
I thought you were
America!
I thought you were going to say he has the record for the only Nobel Peace Prize winner who bombed somebody while he was getting the award.
Oh no! Kissinger paved that way. I mean, Kissinger crawled so Obama could sprint. You know, I mean, come on.
Yes, I have seen further than others, Seamus.
Yes.
Because I've been standing on the shoulder of midgets.
Yeah.
Consequences.
Little people. Sorry.
Careful
now. Peter Dirkleach come after you. You don't want to get Dirkleached.
I don't want to get Dinklaged.
Dinklaged, that's it. When I say Dirkleached.
He kicks open the door and says, Dinkle, bitch. Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure I could not take Peter Dinklage in a fight.
fair.
Yeah.
He's got a strong core. Matter of fact, he's all core.
he's got a lower center of gravity I would have gone with, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously though, I don't think I could take Dinklage in a fight. He must have had some combat training for half of those roles he's in. And I've had no training. One of the main Dinklage, I call him for some reason, like he's a mate. Dinklage.
What's up, Dink?
Oh, Dink, yeah. And I get a T-shirt, just says Dinkle written on it. Like, sorry. I have already got the bit that I'm going to do on stage.
It's all good.
Yeah. One of the main geopolitical consequences, Jesus Christ, the Greeks called this bathos, Bathos. If you're trying to be serious about something, and it goes fucking ridiculous, or you're trying to be like really funny and suddenly you go serious, it's called bathos. One of the main geopolitical consequences was a further expansion of the Monroe Doctrine.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, the Monroe Doctrine we discussed at length in various episodes, probably most famously is the wrong word, but most notably also the wrong word. The one I remember is the episode we did on Monroe. That's when we discussed, but we also discussed it in the the first Venezuela episode.
Yes.
You may recall, in case there's any new people in the chat, the one new person we have in the chat, hello. You may recall was the American foreign policy instrument, which stated that any military actions by any European power anywhere in the Americas would be interpreted by the United States as an act of war against them. The Roosevelt corollary, which we discussed in the Venezuela thing, to the Monroe Doctrine stated that furthermore, the United States was entitled to invade any Latin American country if they felt it was necessary to uphold its political stability. Now, by political stability, we mean the flow of goods from the raw materials from that Latin American country to American wealthy interests.
Anything to protect the interest of America.
The wealthy resource extraction machine.
Yep.
And if you threaten that, you're politically unstable. But if anything else happens, you're not politically unstable. So you can murder people, you can do massacres and whatever. And as long as the wealth extraction isn't, you are considered politically stable for the purposes of that sentence.
Yep.
Right. So that's what they mean by political stability. And I have no doubt in my mind that that's exactly what they mean by political stability. That they're not even being shitty about it. That's just how they see it.
Yeah.
But now we have something like what we might call the Eisenhower corollary, which is not a thing. I just made it up now, right? When I was writing this. The Eisenhower corollary states, in my mind, that no European powers could engage their military anywhere on the planet for any reason without prior US approval.
Right.
There is also an official Eisenhower doctrine, which has nothing to do with what I just said. But this Suez Crisis thing underlined that one phone call from the Americans and it's over. These guys could have just France and Britain and Israel could have moved in on the Suez Canal and just stayed there. And there's not a lot anybody could have done with it, but the Americans said no and it stopped. That's the first time American political power globally was really said over England and France. And those guys would be global superpowers themselves.
Right.
It's quite a momentous occasion. And maybe we should have like a cake and streamers or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's also an official Eisenhower doctrine. What do you think, if Dinklage was a word, what do you think it would mean? Dinklage. You pee outside the bowl by accident.
Yeah, you leave.
I'm afraid there's been some dinklage. Give me a few moments to clean it up.
Little left behind. Little
left behind. Yeah.
Oh, maybe. I should have said little. Sorry, it's too much.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to say that out loud.
No, don't.
We're okay. Don't. We're okay with people of all sizes, but I should warn you, we will be making fun of everybody. Okay. In the wake of the collapse of British and French influence over the Middle East, as a direct consequence of US... That's not my only trans joke.
Okay.
In the wake of the collapse of British and French influence over the Middle East, as a direct consequence of US political power, the US were afraid the Arab states would go to the USSR for support. Fair enough, right? That's not a bad... And that was a valid fear. Eisenhower stated that any Middle Eastern country could count on US military support, right? Here we go again with the quote. To secure and protect the territorial integrity and political independence of such nations requesting such aid against overt armed aggression from any nation controlled by international communism. So the Americans are offering their army to any of these Middle Eastern countries who feel like they're being against overt armed aggression from any nation controlled by international communism. Presumably, armed aggression from other sources would be tolerated by the Americans. So if I have a violent revolution or I'm just being attacked by these people and I ask the Americans for help, their question is, are the people attacking you being controlled by the forces of international communism?
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
And your response will determine whether or not we can help you.
Yeah, so it's always got to be communism.
It's nice when the mask is off, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't think they would do that. Well, Trump would, but the security apparatus would not. They wouldn't phrase it like that.
No.
And I think it's nice to see when they're open about it.
Hmm?
Yeah, if you get attacked by someone who's not a communist, we don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the actual Eisenhower doctrine, and that there's an official thing called the Eisenhower doctrine. And that is the Eisenhower doctrine.
I honestly think that might be predated Eisenhower in a lot of ways, but it just said out loud, I think, So
yeah, he said it out loud. Yeah. For England, well, this is 1956, so they would have been at the anti-communist stuff since, I guess, at least 1946, at least. I'd say. For England, the consequences were less dramatic, but they could never use Egypt as a centre of operations again. And they moved their entire Middle East military and intelligence machine to Cyprus, which is just north of Egypt. If you want to know how that went, check out our episode, Operation Attila. And I will explain to you exactly how it went when England moved their intelligence and military operation to Cyprus. And that is my business, my episode. Sorry, I haven't been sleeping very well if I seem a little bit out of it. That is my episode on the Suez Canal. Do you want to hear my other trans joke? Another trans joke?
No.
Okay.
The whole doctrine thing that reminds me. You ever listen to Phil Oakes?
Is he not in the Human League?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, then no.
Probably his most famous song is "Love Me, I'm a Liberal."
Or "Don't You Want Me, Baby."
I'm not marching for anyone anymore.
Oh no, you told me about this guy before.
Yeah, but it has a song that's called "Cops of the World."
Okay.
And literally, that what you just said is pretty much like this whole thing is just "Cops of the World."
Oh, okay.
It should be the national anthem instead of Star Spangled Banner. It's it's so fucking brilliant.
Oh, John Oliver. Did you see John Oliver? He had a new national anthem thing as well. It was funny. It wasn't even disrespectful. It was just kind of accurate, Mm-hmm. But that's all I have on. Unless you want to ask me something, that's all I have in Suez. So I guess now we go into the news today.
Sure.
This is our What's New section. What we do, you're going to like this. What we do is we put CIA and FBI into Google and we pull up some stories from this week that we think are interesting and funny. And we haven't seen them, so you're going to see them the same time we do. So Seamus, reveal unto me your FBI links, please.
Special agent in charge of FBI Chicago field office pushed to retire.
Go on.
Apparently, Douglas S. Podesta. They believe that he was kind of X'd out because of arguments with the new head of the DOJ.
This has nothing to do with our previous episode.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be about that. Okay.
No.
Wait. Arguments with the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
So he's the good guy in this.
I would say so, unfortunately. Oh, okay. I mean, it's hard to say. They're all sucks.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
So now the FBI personnel surge in Georgia is under scrutiny because the whole election thing. So basically, they're trying to prove that there was fraud in Georgia, but then what they might have done is actually seized record documents that actually proved that there was fraud on the other side of it. I don't know. The whole thing's fucked up.
Yeah.
But it's coming under question now. And of course, it wouldn't be an episode without
Cash Patel. Cash. Very, very quick round of applause for the.
Thank you.
Okay, go.
So now they're going to have a hearing on, or they're going to consider having a hearing on Cash Patel's travel and spending budget. They're going to do a probe. Well, the Democrats wanted to do it, but now some Republicans, including Senator Grassley, which if you know him, he's a fucking monster. And if he's on board with it, then it's going to be really fucking bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of these Republicans, a lot of these asshole Republicans, for all we say about asshole Republicans, they do actually have principles.
Every once in a while, you find one, right?
No, they do have principles. It's just most of their principles go against my principles.
Fair.
But a lot of them are very principled people. The principle is blah, blah, blah. So when something goes against those principles, even if they don't like it, they will still stick by it. And I've seen Republicans like that. We had one during the fucking absolute crisis episode you had on Nebraska, remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty. He was
a Republican.
All the people fighting for that that situation were Republicans.
And he pushed hard for that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was against his own party.
Yeah, even the investigator was a former Republican senator or congressman, rather. Yeah.
It is interesting to see that. So Grassley, what's his name? Chuck? Is that his first name?
Yeah, Chuck.
Yeah,
Chuck, good old Chucky. So
he's going to push for this thing against Cash Patel. I imagine. See, if I was a Republican senator, even if I was, let's say, corrupt or whatever, even if I was in that position, I would find it sickening watching Cash Patel carry on the way he is.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm not saying he's corrupt. Sorry, I'm just saying in that if I was, I'm saying he's corrupt.
I think there's a possibility he is. Well, let's leave it at that.
No, I meant Grassley.
Oh, okay. So
I have no idea if Grassley's corrupt or not.
That's all I got.
Okay, then I'm going to do my CIA bits.
Yep.
Are you ready?
Yep.
I can't hear you. I said, are you ready? Brilliant. Oh, that's good. That's going to make the edit. Imagine if like that happened with Aerosmith, wasn't it? Oh, you total silence. Oh, brilliant. I laughed so much. But the first one is CIA. This is from Syracuse.com, or Syracusa, as they say in Italy. CIA expert says this one habit reveals you're American. Now, I have a suspicion about this, but do you know what it is before I say?
What?
I've told you about it before. First of all, just to say, if you check out this on Syracuse.com, the picture they've chosen to illustrate this story is just a conventionally attractive young lady. And I don't think that's necessary. What it is I've heard this so many times now that I suspect it's bullshit. But I was told by a number of websites and a number of so on that the thing that the CIA tells its agents operating in Europe is the most obvious thing is do not lean against things.
Really?
Yes. Do not lean against filing cabinets. Do not lean against the jamb of the door. Do not lean against anything, because only Americans do that. And when Europeans see you doing that, they'll think it looks weird, and they'll settle. It will make you salient in a way that agents are not supposed to be. Agents are supposed to.
I've never heard of it before.
This is why James Bond, by the way, would be a terrible agent, because anytime James Bond comes into a room, everybody notices him. If James Bond was a real agent, he would be one of the fucking waiters, right?
That's like, well, you've seen Archer, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that story. It is actually, I mean, if it's true, it's interesting. But I've seen it so many times now, it's starting to come across as the kind of thing the CIA says when they're asked this question. This is what we tell them. The second link is CIA chief highlights major shifts in agency's tech approach. And this is a scary one for anyone paying attention. The head of the CIA on Tuesday publicly touted a number of recent changes the spy agency has made that mark a fundamental reshaping of how it uses cutting-edge technology. This is on the record.media, by the way. Now, John Ratcliffe said, "We simply can't afford to wait for a risk-free approach when it comes to emerging technologies. It doesn't exist. We have to move fast, we have to be aggressive, and we have to take full advantage of the ingenuity that sets America apart." He's, of course, referring to AI. AI in particular is a domain in which the CIA must excel because every algorithmic decision has implications for the US strategic advantage. Now, that's scary because what he's saying is he's not going to wait for FDA approval on the drugs. He's just going to take them.
Okay.
That's not good. Right?
Kind of like RFK.
Yeah. My last link is called the CIA's first failed coup. It's in foreignpolicy.com. And it's about the coup in Albania. You remember the Albania episode we had? Yeah. The Albanians continually and hilariously kept fucking the CIA up the ass with a broken bottle. It was really funny. Well, this is about that. They don't go for the comedy angle. They just go for the interesting angle. But it's on foreignpolicy.com. It's called the CIA's first failed coup, which the title alone is amusing.
Yeah.
And they have a picture. They have a picture there of Kim Philby. You remember he was an integral character in that episode. That is my links of CIA links, and I believe that is our episode.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Good.
Okay.
Next week we'll be doing what? What do you think?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess we could be doing another CIA, couldn't we? The way things are going,
It doesn't matter.
we've torn up the
So,
contract because you did the last 4 episodes because I
yeah.
was in complete my mind was in disarray and I wasn't able to focus on anything. I'm still not getting any sleep, but I was able to write the Suez episode. Would you say that episode is jib quality?
That's good.
Is it worthy of the jib?
Yes,
Then
of course.
we're good. And maybe our next episode will be a CIA episode.
Cool. And we will at one point get back to the founding feckheads too. So
Of course, we have many
I posted some stuff of that with during because July, and the 250th and all that bullshit. So some people were asking if we were going to do any more. So we'll get to it.
two main subplots. The subplots are the founding feckheads, which is a pet project of yours that you're very attached to emotionally, and the other one is the jib jabs.
Jib jabs, yeah.
Jib jabs are freelance. We do them anytime we come across someone. We don't need to worry about it. Founding feckheads takes effort and time, and we got to get it right.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes they're few and far between.
Yeah, we'll get to it again. Don't worry about it. And if right now the dollop's doing Hamilton, so shift over to the dollop if you need to fill that void for a little while.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And thanks for joining us. And I guess we will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye, folks.